Welcome, everybody, to Generation Dan, the only podcast where whether it's war or the cops or singing and dancing zombies, we stay calm. I'm Atlas Novack. I'm your millennial. Who else is here with me?
I want to see dancing zombies. I feel like that's a great pickup.
Yeah.
I'm Dino, the genetic marvel.
Hello.
Yeah. Welcome back, Al. How are you?
I'm good. Hi. I was on a previous show, but if you don't remember me, I'm Faunt. My pronouns are they or he, if you would like, especially because it's Pride Month. But yeah, and apparently the topic of this show is about staying calm, which is funny because all comedians have anxiety.
Yep. I'm starting to get, you know how like your phone goes like, I'm listening to everything you say. Here are ads based on what you've said. I'm starting to get ads for beta blockers, which to those who don't know is something that makes your heart beat less forcefully. And it's usually for like people who, as they get older or fatter, sorry, Dino, but like people with anxiety, according to these ads, are like, they're taking them so they don't have as much anxiety. I'm like, that's not good, is it?
Well, I feel like that's a standard ad for everyone in California right now. That's
right.
Like, hey, everybody, just take some beta blockers. Let's just bring it down a little bit. Just bring it down. Have low
either that or like Atlas, you specifically are on the millennial to boomer like fast track pipeline, which I don't know. I feel like we're doing all the time periods at once.
Yes.
Lately,
you have the 60s and what else is going on? The 2000s,
right?
And
listen, what makes it terrifying?
The 70s.
Everything is kind of like we're reliving multiple crises at the same time, and you're like, well, that's from that time, and it's happening again. That's from that time, and it's happening again. I feel like this is too much. This might be too much. I feel like everyone has overfilled their buffet plate and said, you know, I could go up for another plate, or I could just overly stack this one. You're like, no, that's a mistake. Don't do that. As someone who's lived in many buffets for many an hour, just go up for a second plate, guys. You don't have to overfill yourself. Hello, Victoria. Hello, Anna.
Yeah.
So to answer your question about singing and dancing zombies, it's a real musical. It's called The Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals. It's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but instead of zombies, they become like in a musical.
That's way worse. That's way worse.
It's good. I took my sister and my friend Josh to go see. Did you talk to Josh at the wedding, Dino?
Maybe.
Okay.
I think so. Was he
at
my
table? At the nerd table with all my nerd friends that like didn't talk to anybody for the most part.
No, they basically tried to turn themselves invisible as soon as I came walking by to introduce myself. They're like, "I'll pretend you're a rock," and I was like, "All right, I guess I won't."
So it's fun. He majored in theater. I was going to take my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, but he wasn't in town, so the three of us went, and it was really good. You can watch it on YouTube. The production company just puts their pro shots up on YouTube.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's pretty standard.
Namaste from India. Like musicals. Sorry, weird tangent.
The guy that didn't like musicals doing a musical though feels like peak therapy. Like he's like, right. I have to just embrace it full force
because he doesn't want to. Like all these the people in the town he lives in start singing and dancing. He's like, what the fuck is this? Like he starts getting more and more stressed out over the course of the show.
I feel like I was made for a part like me.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I constantly look at people and I'm like, why? Why are you doing these things? I don't understand. But that's,
No. I feel like a singing and dancing zombie apocalypse is better than whatever this is.
I will concede.
I agree, yeah,
there is an argument for that. I will give you that. That's I'm not saying it'd be my forte, but better. That arguably, that's fair. Because right now,
like at minimum, maybe we should be having more musical theater in the streets right now.
I feel like if everyone handled themselves kind of like West Side Story, where they're like, we're going to have a dance off, it would be better. I feel like that's a move in the right direction. Yeah. It's, it's one of the, it's like me. It's like me hanging out with my redneck friends in. I mean, that's yeah.
Oh, hi.
Hello, Willow Girl. Say something about India. I'm from Toronto, sir. I basically live in India. That's just factual. That's fine. Yeah, I don't know. Things are unique these days. That's for sure. I don't know. Do you guys find that things happen and you kind of stand there going, it was unexpected. That's too much. I'm gonna pretend that never happened and just turn around and walk somewhere else? Or what? How do you guys first deal with the incursion of news that is definitely going to ruin your day? Let's say that.
Do you want to go first?
Me?
Does Elle want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'll give it a try. There have definitely been points, especially over the past 6 months specifically. If you are not in the US, you can take a guess as to what the goings on have been for the past 6 months here. But yeah, there have definitely been points over the past 6 months where it's been real early and I've been like, you know what? I got to be done with the internet for the day. Yes. Or for like at least like 8 to 10 hours. And then like I'll do a quick check or do what I need to do in the evening or something like that. And that's it.
That's fair. That's a good one. Atlas, any nuggets of knowledge?
So, being a straight white male, there is a like privilege to this, meaning that I'm not directly under attack yet. But I have many people in my life who I don't want to be, under attack, and students who I've taught that are very nervous, and I understand that. So much has happened that like the anxiety of like something new happening, I'm just like, fucking throw it on the pile. The problem is that you tend to forget about stuff after a while. Part of me thinks I should be keeping a spreadsheet. Yeah, and then like once this is over, however it becomes over, I kind of want to just be like, here's a spreadsheet of all the shit you need to undo. Get to it, because there are things that will be forgotten about.
Yeah, that's fair.
Absolutely. I think that's part of the point right now here in the US.
Flood the zone with shit, as they say, right?
I see. I'll be honest with you guys. I stopped watching the news. Like I've actively. So I was very like I don't like opinion based information. Okay. I like factual information for me. And you know what? And I do not have a problem with someone saying, so this can mean XYZ or XYZ. And you're going, okay, so now I have information, unbiased. Then I have possible outcomes that may have some bias, but there are multiple, so it shares everyone's bias. Mm-hmm. And then in turn, the responsibility is up to the person. And even that I found probably in, I think by around 2023, I was like, it's still too much. I actively stopped watching the news, where I'm just like, you know what? I have my own worries, and I'm not Atlas. Pun intended. I'm not Atlas. I can't hold the whole world on my shoulders. I'm just, so I'm just like, you know what?
That was like a thing at me at first. I'm like, he's doing it proverbially. Got it.
Yeah. It's one of those where you're just like, you know what? And hilariously, okay, so Willow Girl is from Ohio. I was just in Ohio recently. So her response was, go to my room and punch a hole in the wall. I am not against this, but the addendum to that, or the full circle, is then you have to learn to go and fix a hole in your wall, and then you fully experience the reaction, consequences of your reaction, and life with it going forward. And that will kind of it. The problem is, a lot of us, myself included, we want to express our anger and then forget about it. And you're going, that's not how life works. When you express anger, you affect the world around you, and that is the consequence of those feelings. And that's not to say that your feelings are unjust or unreasonable or anything like that, but you have to go the full experience of those emotions before you can resolve them for yourself, because your inner peace is the only thing you're in control of. You can't control how other people feel about things, how they see things, how they describe things. But how you respond is the only real thing that's, you have the reins of, which is also mildly terrifying. Don't get me wrong. It's, I've had other comedians where they'll call me about stuff and just ask my opinion, and I'll be like, you have every right to those emotions. Also, do you feel that it's benefiting you from having this experience? And they're like, no. They're like, you are an adult and you can go, hey, I don't want to do this. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, you can bow out of almost everything. Granted, there will be consequences to that, but you can just say, I don't want to do that. And people go, well, what do you mean I don't want to do that? It makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't want to be involved in this kind of situation. And that's kind of being the pilot of your own ship kind of thing. Is it's a lot more responsibility, but at the same time, you're kind of going, hey, I'm just not going to go over there. That seems like a storm. I don't want to get involved. I'm going to go over here where it's nice and sunny and perfect. It's,
Thank you for bringing that. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, Dino. Like, I appreciate that, because I think people, I think when you get to a certain age, like, you start to fully realize that with the oh, I can opt out, or I can say, hey guys, you all can opt out. But I think like there's this zone of like adulthood where people like try to go along with things or try not to create friction in certain environments, and like they end up being like, oh, I'm not steering the ship anymore. So that's a super important thing to remember.
So, Elle, you probably have experienced this as well, is that people will, like, there are tactics that are very old. Like, when I'm saying something, I'm nodding and it makes other people nod with me, and then they're saying yes and they don't even realize. I'm like, these are things that people use when in education, in conversation, in social groups, all sorts of places. And when you have an understanding of how people communicate information they really want you to side on for, then you kind of be like, oh, I'm being schmoozed here. Okay, I don't have to do that. Like, for me, I get extremely frustrated when people try and sell me. Like, as somebody, like, I was a financial planner, I hate sales because I find that most often sales are manipulative, right? I can give you information. I can tell you, because the fact is, do you need a coat for every season? Sure. Do you need 3 coats for every season? Not really. You need kind of one coat that fits all your needs. Oh, sometimes that doesn't happen. Okay, well, if it doesn't happen, then you can have 2. But people are like, no, you need 7 of everything. You're like, well, hold on. I don't have a closet. This is not going to work for me, right? I say this because I have a house filled with coat racks, because my wife is like, I'm a fashion designer. I need lots of clothes. And I'm like, that's fine. I love you. But oh my God, I live in a house of coat racks. Very frustrating. It's one of those things. Someone got bumped right out of there, right out of the gate. Wow.
So, admittedly, one downside to seeing all of the shit happen everywhere is that, like, it's very frustrating when you yourself are having a bad time.
Yeah.
Just in your regular life, and people are like, there's ice in LA and we're at war with another country that we didn't ask for, and that, like, there wasn't a formal declaration of war and nobody wants this and blah blah blah. I'm like, I too am having a bad time outside of that as well, but I feel bad complaining about it because it's like, I'm just one guy, right? This has not been a good year for me. So, like, 2025 is not the year of Atlas at all.
Not the Summer of George.
No, it is the opposite of Summer of George. It's the thing with the bee chasing him, but for the whole year.
Yeah.
And like it's that on top of all the political stuff, and I feel kind of bad for not participating as much as I want to. Like with the protests in 2020, I was out in them streets with the signs. I was in there, and this year or this time, I'm like, I don't want to get arrested because it's very hard to like do teacher stuff after you've been arrested. It's like, have you ever been arrested? So I've been like giving out water or that sort of stuff, and it I don't know, it just feels like a half measure.
So while I understand your perspective on it, where you're like, well, I could do more, you're doing something, and you're penalizing the not doing more is ridiculous, right? You have to get some credit for being a positive force in a very difficult environment. You should. It's kind of like, well, you didn't die for our cause, so that doesn't count. You're like, okay, or we don't have to die. Maybe that's that's like,
maybe, yeah. And it's like, yeah. Well, and then like that's the reason that my phone is trying to sell me beta blockers. Is I'm like, I'm really anxious about like career stuff. No, sure. I don't have anxiety. I'm not a very anxious person.
Yeah.
In general, but when I'm saying I'm anxious about this particular thing, phone is like anxiety, beta blockers. Go get them. And it's like,
well, no. I think it's important to point out too, because I was actually talking about this topic with my therapist recently. The climate of surveillance has changed so much even since 2020. So to be out there on the ground in a protest, even if it's not getting spicy and you're masked, there is just so much more capability at this point in time to track you. And we're seeing the retaliation from our fascist government in real time. Like that is something I think we need to name, because the climate is different in that regard.
It would be like if the party from 1984 was like, yeah, we monitor everything you do, but like, here's a fucking ad about it. I'm not gonna arrest everybody. It's like lazy fascism almost.
I mean, listen, I'm not sure if you guys have shared this experience, but I've been having moments where I didn't Google it, I didn't even talk about it, I didn't do nothing, and it still shows up as an ad, and I'm going, I'm being mind controlled. Shit. And for me, I'm just like, because I'm very much of the belief that I may be paranoid, but that doesn't mean someone isn't following me. So it's one of those kind of things that I'm like, I have to separate myself on occasion where I'm just like, you know what? I'm not getting involved. I'm just going to step away because I am incapable of adding to my bowl. My bowl is full, and and realistically, I'm trying to make a smaller bowl. I'm trying to lose weight. It's horrible experience.
That's all okay. And I think too, like what a lot of people don't realize, it's getting spicy out there on the ground with cops, especially here in LA and things like that. But there's actually so much real-time off-site support that is needed. There is just the most mundane, like bringing groceries to undocumented people, drop off, kind of like the resistance, quote unquote, is actually very mundane because you're creating a parallel infrastructure kind of thing. So sure, you can choose to go out and get spicy with the cops, but there's so many positions and jobs that you can do that don't involve that. There's
or like, especially if you are pale, and a guy or whatever, just being annoying by way of like talking and just being an energy vampire from What We Do in the Shadows, basically, where it's like, have you seen season 2 of Severance? It's pretty good. Do you have any theories about the ending of season 2? I don't want to spoil the ending, but like it was really good. I don't know why I gave him a Midwest accent for that.
I mean, it's all about hiding in plain sight, Atlas. That's all right.
Pretty much.
But look, it's there's nothing like, for me personally, whether I have the same beliefs as somebody or not, I 100% believe in their right to protest. I 100% believe that people's voices should be heard. I don't question that ever. And regardless of what I believe or what you believe, no, but you have a right to be heard. Why? Because you're a human being. That's what we all are first. And that's like, that's one of those things where, like, to counter the murder face that always looks angry. Whenever I'm dealing with somebody, especially in a retail environment, I'll be like, "Hi, how are you today?" And they'll, "Oh, I'm okay." I'm like, "Oh, that's good." And they're like, "How are you?" And I said, "I'm having a great day. Thank you for asking. I really appreciate it." And then we can proceed as two human beings having a regular, normal interaction that does not need to ruin anyone's experience. And this is like, we were shopping for clothes, and we were in a bit of a hoity-toity place, and I was very proud if I actually fit in one of their shirts, and I was like, "Oh,
congratulations.
I'm so little, look at me," right? Because everyone knows fancy clothes aren't meant for people that are gigantic. That's, no offense, that's just how I'm a giant, and it's, I have like 3 stores I could shop at. So in turn, there was no one at the cash register, which is a huge faux pas for hoity-toity places. Everyone knows this. So my wife went and asked me, so, "Oh, could we get some help at the cash register?" And the lady was rushing over. She's like, "Oh, just give me a moment." I'm like, "Hey, just take all the time you need. It's Thursday. You just calm down. Let's rough. Just relax." And she was just like, "Thank you very much." She was like, "Thank you so much for saying." I'm like, "Listen, it's basically the weekend. If anyone's going to be a pain in the ass, tell them to come back Monday. Okay, that we deal with pains in the ass on Monday. We don't have to deal with them on Thursday. We're not going to ruin our entire weekend because you're like, I was here waiting." Yeah, okay, relax, calm down. It's not a big deal, And her entire demeanor, like her shoulders kind of relaxed. She was like, "Thank you for being so nice." And I'm like, no, I'm just a human being. Despite the murderous face, just a nice person. Everything's fine. No one's gonna get murdered. It's great. It's nice, And but taking those 3 seconds, like, look, she's busy doing stuff. What I'm gonna do is stand there going, "Oh, why are you taking so long?" Like, Jesus Christ, calm down, right? And that when people are allow their, because look, you're, like you said, we all have anxiety to some degree, right? And the problem or the frustration is that anxiety, while real and completely valid in dealing with it, our brain is kind of a dickhead and will make anxiety 10 times worse out of completely bullshit reasons. And then we do stuff and we're going, "It wasn't as bad, brain. Why are you such an asshole?" And brain goes, "Yeah, I'm a dick." And you're like, that's not, it's not nice. But that's, taking 3 seconds to be human. And you're like, oh, now everyone can not be a complete fuckhead for the day.
I love the idea of Dino's brain just being like kind of a jerk ass where just.
I am a firm believer that, so I made this example to a friend who's going through, she had a manic episode, but she's doing really good. She's got great meds going and she got a team of doctors. Things are going great for her and I'm so happy about it. And I try and be assistive in any way I can, but I had to explain to her that I asked her, I'm like, "Do you know anything about Star Trek?" And she's like, "No." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'm going to explain it anyway. That's fine." I'm like, you have the ship. The ship is your body. It walks around and does stuff, okay? You have your brain, which is the computer. The computer does whatever you tell it to do, okay? But the computer is not capable to make decisions. It's an idiot, right? It just knows what you tell it, right? So you can tell it really complex stuff and it can do it magically, right? It's just similar to AI and all that kind of stuff. Those are great things. But if you don't tell it what to do, it says, "Well, I'm going to fly in a circle because that's safe and I'm happy here." And you're going, it's easy, right? Your brain is an idiot. You're the captain where all you're there is to push buttons and go and make decisions. That's the only job. So when you default and hand decision power back to the computer says, "Well, I don't want to fucking do anything. I'm just going to hang out here. This is nice, safe, and convenient, and I don't have to do anything." It's so much easier. And then you realize you're going, "Oh yeah, as the captain, you're the one who has to fucking do the thing and make a decision." And when you think about it from that perspective, you kind of realize you're going, "Oh, I gave an idiot decision-making power." And just because you're like, "Hey, give it a try." And they're like, "Yeah, I'm not doing anything." And you're like, "Hey, or you need to do that over there." And they're like, "Nah, I'm not just going to go flying in circles." And you're like, "Ah, damn it." Right. And you kind of, when you figure out that order, and realize that, yeah, we all fail at shit all the time. It's just adult. Hey, I screwed up. Okay. And move on. And it kind of brings us back to I don't know, a manageable process.
One of Jim Eaton in our comment section says most stuff we worry about never happens.
Oh,
which might be the episode title. Not bad. But like, I guess that's anxiety for you. Take a beta blocker. Yeah.
Dino, come on. Everybody knows Star Wars is God's favorite. Star Trek is from the devil.
Gene Roddenberry was a socialist, but he was awesome.
I mean, I think that like that kind of goes back to stuff you were talking about earlier, Dino, because I think it's entirely our right to just take some time, like a minor amount of time off, take a step back in any like interpersonal situation. Be like, hey, I have to take a step back from this project. Take 3 days off the internet. Go to a park and touch grass. Go outside your living space and touch grass if getting places is difficult for you. You know what I mean? Like, we all need to take the time to process some of this. And it's okay to like you were saying, Dino, load up your bowl less, like not keep going to the buffet in that regard.
Oh yeah, because that's the. I love that example about the buffet, and I use it too much, and people have looked at me funny. I'm like, well, I used to be super fat. Like now I'm an acceptable amount of fat, but I used to be super fat. And they're like, oh, that's why you know about buffets. You used to be a giant fat pig.
It's just food metaphors all the way down.
Absolutely, they're very versatile. Thank you. It's harder than Dino at the craft table out here.
That's why you can see the fan going in the background. This thing is like going for its life.
I didn't even turn on the lights. I'm like, I need every bit of darkness to keep this area cold. I'm fine. No, but that's like a buffet doesn't know that you've overeaten. The buffet just does what the buffet does, right? So it's not, and people have this weird idea where you're like, oh, I have to get as much as possible, or you can just get as much that will satisfy you. It's not, the buffet is not a challenge. It's an opportunity. It's not, and I'll tell you, as somebody who used to be 500 pounds, I met every buffet as a challenge. And I was like, I will take you out. And I won horribly so many times. It's not a good thing. It's not as proud of a moment as you'd think it was,
Right. Like, we promise the apocalypse will be there once you come back to it. You know what I mean? Like, it will, right?
That is, I'm gonna clip that. That is top tier factual. Like, that's just, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree. It'll be here. Don't worry. Just you'll be fine. Everything's fine. It's okay.
Yeah, and also to tie this back to something else you were saying earlier, Dino, like, I'm very much with you in, like, okay, this is my exennial to boomer pipeline moment, I guess. But like, I'm very much with you in I don't like when news bites started becoming like short form video for the TikTok generation. Because then I felt like a lot of, I mean, okay, there's not really news without bias, but like I felt like a lot of slant started coming into things, and a lot of like manipulative, kind of emotionally manipulative things started coming into how we were consuming goings on throughout the world. And I'm still not in fact, because you know what, establishment media like boomer news, they're not great either. Like, I'm not gonna praise their object. Like, they're normalizing this shit show, so we can't idealize that either.
The worst part is
I'm seeing that a lot with like NPR in particular, where it's like, please don't defund us, daddy. We'll sane wash you,
Well, this is the crazy part is you're going like, everyone is, even the good ones ended up where like, oh, if we do it the other way, we're gonna make a lot more money, and everyone's just saying, oh, let's make a lot more money, and you're like, no, stop trying to make money. It's the news. You're not supposed to be profitable.
But at the same time, if it's subsidized by the government, there is an inherent
massive
relationship. It's not like the USPS where it's just like it's a service tied to the government.
And I think about it this way is, if the USPS, okay, and up here we have Canada Post, they're like, they operate a loss. I'm like, yeah, that's because they're a service. A service doesn't operate at a profit. That's not how that works.
A service costs money and is an inherent good. Yeah.
And it's integral to the operation of the country. It's not, it shouldn't be making money. Now, should it lose a lot of money? No, that's not a good thing either. Okay, so we can try and minimize that, but we shouldn't be expecting it to be extra profitable, right? That's and it's the same. I look at the whole idea about university, and like I went to college. I was smart enough to go to university. No, I wasn't as consistent in my studies, and I had a poor work ethic for school. That's what it really was. I could have gone to university, but I'm an idiot. So, but the thing is, people are like, oh, so university is $120,000. You're going, okay. And now people are like, oh, it's $250,000. You're going, okay. So do I get a job afterward that pays me $250,000? Like, oh, not even close. You're still going to work the same job. You're like, well, that's not helpful. You haven't, and then you have universities that, yes, it's a business, but no, it should be just educating people. It should not be crazy profitable. Like, oh, we need a new stadium. Number one, why do you have a stadium, fuckhead? Let's calm down. Maybe you should have a classroom with air conditioning and not 17 portables, you son of a bitch. It's not, sorry, it's a sore spot. I went to a lot of schools that have portables, and it really drove me crazy. And then people,
yeah, that's always funny when they're like, it's a temporary classroom. I'm like, it's been here since the 70s, my guy.
Right?
Yeah, like very obviously with that.
Oh yeah, it's what I don't understand is that, like, there are clear reasons for certain things to be in play, and you're like, okay, like I love when people like, oh, I did this a couple times and people got mad at me. I was like, okay, property taxes, it goes to the upkeep of the area around us. Good. Why do we still have potholes? And every person of authority is like, well, that's not the point. I'm like, I asked a question. I need an answer. Let's go.
If I don't get an answer, I'm walking out there with a spray paint can and doing the dong thing until you fill it in.
Which I'm kind of tempted, but there's a lot of, we too are increasing surveillance on roads right now. And I'm like, you know what?
Yeah. Especially when you look like Dino, that's going to be hard to like. I can't dress up in black bloc. It's
well. Can you imagine me walking around like it's going to be like Bigfoot photos? Just have you seen this man? And I'm like, like shit. It's not helpful. And like there's also, I find it interesting to tell people that if you paint one of those street cameras, if you paint a camera, that's vandalism. However, if you put a bucket on top of it, it's an inconvenience that can't really be charged because you didn't damage anything. It's a very important distinction when it comes to having a record and your face on camera. I feel like those two things, it's the same thing like, hey, don't stab someone's tire, but you can let all the air out. That's just a nuisance, and a nuisance isn't chargeable. So it's like little things like that where you're going, hey, should you protest? Absolutely. Should you be looting? Well, that's not really how protest works. That's a separate kind of an additional type of protest. That's, you want to keep those two things divided just because, well, maybe not all of us want to be looters. I want to. I'm just too fat to fit through the doors. People usually break half a door. I'm like, have you seen a 6'2", 300-pound man go for the bottom of a door? It is a very memorable sight. Doesn't work, I'll tell you.
I want to loot in terms of just have UBI, like distribute to everybody.
Yes.
That's my looting.
Well, especially where like you're seeing those articles come out where it's like AI is going to kill, like on the projected thing, which I'm still of the belief that AI is going to flame out like NFTs and like crypto and the metaverse.
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to keep an eye on that too, because it's sort of at a weird tipping point right now.
Yes. I want to go on the record and say that I love our new robot overlords, and I can't wait for them to be in charge because I think they'll do a great job. I'm here for you, and hey, I can be funny. I have robot jokes too, no problem.
So they, whatever it ends up being, there's like all these articles where it's like it's going to take like this percentage of the job market, and I'm like, where's the rest of that? Where you go, okay, now it's time for UBI, because you can't be like just leaving people on the street with nothing to do, because we saw what happened at Blair Mountain. So maybe figure your shit out before it gets spicy.
I had this as I documented it as an option, and I said, so we've had issues throughout history of automation being the devil from mankind's perspective, which I'm like, yeah, because it stole everything. Said what we really should be doing is think about it this way: is if you get automated, you now get a portion, let's say 25% or 30% of your salary is now paid to you because you've been automated, and you can go on to do whatever you want. So the company saves 70% of your salary, okay, and they are able to automate, but in turn you receive a smaller portion of your income. So in actuality, it's like getting a free pension early on. So what you would have is people would actually help and assist to automate their own jobs because, well, now I can just get free money. So you kind of figure out how to connect the two dots. So
what about
if you had if you ended up getting 3 or 4 jobs and each one got automated, well, now you're sitting on income that has, you're getting regardless. And you're like, well, now I could focus on something like art or hobbies and stuff like that. And you're going, well, now it's no longer a negative thing to be automated. Someone's like, hey, you're not usually out during the day. You're like, yeah, I got automated. You're like, oh shit, what are you gonna do now? You're like, I'm going on vacation. It's great. There's, logically it makes more sense. Your company saves money, you get the freedom to do other things.
Well, except for the fact that I have been a self-employed visual and performing artist for quite some time, and we were essentially some of the first to get automated via AI. And sure, some of our local economies are trying to support us. And there's like pop-up events where, me and my partner's collaborative have been vending and gallery show opportunities and stuff like that. But like, there has been no reach to compensate artists in that regard. And as you know, with the Hollywood strikes, like
huge,
the actors were actually punished for not consenting to have their image and voice and likeness used in AI. So
so follow.
And now Microsoft and Disney are like trying to bring it down, which never thought I'd be like, go Disney, but
So, and this is okay, Elle, I'm so happy you brought this up. And that is one of those key moments where you're going, so the actuality, the fundamental process of AI focusing on art is literally the first step in, hey, we should be using AI to make things function properly. We should not be using AI to do what we as human, like, look, the greatest achievement of a human being is, now I can create art that will live on past me for all to benefit from, right? That's what being an artist is in all of its various forms. Letting AI do it, essentially you're like, people who are doing their best to produce art, which is a thankless job for so many. We're going to use AI for that. Why is AI involved in any of that? That is not where it should be. Doing accounting for everybody and be like, hey, we found free money. That's where it should be focused. And be like, no, we're going to have them make art. You're like, no, I make art, you dick. That's not how that works.
And yet, that is the first area that tech bros reached for to automate.
I argue that it's low hanging fruit. That they did that to say, see how beneficial it is. And you're going, no. The someone explained this to me a while ago, was that the reason for AI, by what it's doing right now, is to eliminate the necessity to compensate people who have skills that are unique, such as doing artwork, public speaking, all those kind of things, and in turn make those extremely difficult skills accessible to people who are unskilled. And you're like, see, that's the thing, is to become an artist and to get good at something, you need hours, time, and things to invest in. If you don't do those things, you don't get better as an artist and your skills lack. And over time, you have to get better. So throwing AI into it, you're like, well, now I'm making it accessible to people who aren't willing to put in, which is like the most apropos kind of thing. You're like, people want all of the benefit and zero of the sacrifice. You're like, that's not how life works. It's the only reason you're good at stuff is when you sacrifice into it and you put those blood, sweat, and tears in it. That's what makes it part of how good you are.
Well, to add to that too, I mean, artistry is not just about hours put into the work and hours put into the skill. I think that artistry is fundamentally human, and you bring all of the threads of your own life experience. Me telling a story as a middle-aged queer person is not going to be the same as telling a story, from somebody who is a cisgendered Black woman, or, a cis het white man, or what. And there's nothing is inherently like lesser or greater of value as human beings, but they're just going to be different stories. And that is something that like AI can't really replace or filter through, I think.
Yeah.
Also, it's inherently derivative, right? It has to take pre-existing things to train off of, which means like people were calling it Habsburg AI when they were using AI generated things to train the AI. And then after a while you get that chin that can hit a home run, that like Charles V fucking chin of like, it's just incestual after a while.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And so many people are like, oh, I used AI to do headshots and everything like that. You're like, headshots are not that expensive. You should hire a photographer and they'll do it for you. Like that's what you really should be doing. Like, oh, well, I pay AI to do it. You're like, or you could pay a person who's actually skilled in doing it.
Yeah.
And it's such a this idea where you're like, yeah, you have to go out and meet people and you have to decide what's right for you. And you're like, yeah, that takes a lot of work. Yeah, but that's work that you have forever. You've gained that skill. Whereas, and that's why I'm like, I'm not against AI. I just feel like, okay, a perfect example. You can use AI to scan a legal document and for it to give you the synopsis of what kind of a bullet point of what's actually important and what you have to focus on. You're going, okay, because we've had people in our governments, both in the US and Canada, who are like, I can't eat a drink, or I can't read a 1,000-page document in time for my thing. Good. You should use AI to scan it and see what's important to your values. And then you can actually have a discussion, because if you're going to vote on things that's going to affect the entire country, I'm sorry, you should read it. That's your job. You're paid that's your job. So, like saying I can't and I still voted. No, you should abstain. If you don't know what it's about, you shouldn't be voting on it. Like that. Ta-da! Surprise.
I agree with Dino if it's like just a lay person. Like I don't do anything in the legal field, and maybe you can't afford to hire a lawyer, so yeah, maybe. But in the latter case where like it's a congressman, maybe read the thing.
I had a friend who's been having some medical issues, and what she did was she's like, so AI, these are the symptoms I have. How can I communicate this information with my doctor best? And AI is like, oh, so this is what's affected. Like, so when you can give more descriptive information, then you're giving your medical professional a better understanding of your circumstances so that they can treat you better. And it's resulted in a few extra questions that help them actually make progress with things. And you're going, yeah, but you don't go to AI and be like, hey, are you a doctor? Can you diagnose me? No, that's not how that works. No, you still need...
Back in my day, we just had to WebMD everything, and then we thought we were...
It was always cancer, yeah.
Always. Every time. You're like, yep, you're going to die. You're like, all right, I got 3 days. Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, and like, when you have symptoms and you don't know where you're coming from, you kind of just go in and be like, help. Don't know, need beta blocker. What do? Versus like, okay, maybe that can help you get your thoughts in order. Or like, I like the thing where it's like, we used it to be able to figure out like breast cancer years before even the first
isn't that awesome?
Lump showed up. Like that's great. I think that's awesome.
Absolutely.
But I think like where you're using it to either try and replace artists or like that's fucking stupid. Like just pick up a pencil. Start writing.
Like, I'll be honest with you. I went to the doctor back, would have been 2017. I went to the hospital and I'm like, I don't feel okay. And they're like, what's wrong? I don't know. What do you mean? I just don't feel okay. I know something's wrong and I don't know what, but something's definitely wrong. And they're like, do you hurt? And I'm like, not like I normally hurt, but not anywhere specific that goes, hey, something's wrong right here, And they're like, okay. that's pretty vague. And I'm like, that's why I'm here. Cause I didn't go to my doctor. I went to the hospital because I'm like, hey, I need more than one of you guys to look at this shit. And the funny thing was, they're like, okay, so there's this. Also, your blood sugar is at 22. And I'm like, that's a problem because your blood sugar is supposed to be at 5, between 5 and 7 at the most.
Oh, that's a lot. Holy shit.
Yeah. And that's when I found out I had diabetes. And I'm like, hey, could that be affecting my mood? They're like, that definitely fucking affects your mood. Have you been feeling weird? I'm like, I've been feeling weird for quite some time. And they're like, wow, we got some fancy pills. But look, that in turn, me realizing something was wrong and being able to tell doctors that I'm like, no. So I gave them a breakdown and stuff. And I'm like, this is what's going on. I know I'm a fat piece of shit, but I feel unlike I'd feel shittier than I normally do. That is not in line with being a fatso, but it worked. And like now I'm, diabetes free. Haha, look at me. But it took like 7 years. Yeah.
Did you feel anxious getting there? And did they try and prescribe you a beta blocker?
No.
Okay,
like
good for you.
This is one of those things like I've been doing some learning about anxiety. It's like, so anxiety is a fictitious creation of future possibilities that are unconfirmed or validated. Yeah. And which when there's a lot of complex words in that sentence that drive a lot of emotional responses, but you're like, basically as anxiety is shit you make up to ruin your day in advance, and you're like, oh fuck, and that's where I'm like, yeah, your brain, it's an idiot and a little bit of a fucking druggie. They love it. They're like, hey, give me that good stuff. You're like, nah, you've had too much good stuff, just shut up over there and don't do anything. But you don't realize how the fact is you're 21 gram ghost inhabiting a fucking 6-pound meat bucket in your head that's walking around a bone and muscle mech. None of this is fucking real. It's all crazy.
That is so cool of a way to describe the human body. What was that? 20-gram ghost inside a meat bucket.
Yep.
Controlling a skeleton mech. What was the full
it's because no, I think a brain is 3 pounds. So yeah, 3-pound meat bucket. That's it sits in the meat bucket right here, and bucket. Walking around a muscle and bone mech. It's just that's not realizing you're like, yeah, this is like, even like the having been so fat, right? I realized a while ago where I'm like, I'm like, okay, something hurts. Is it because I used to be fat for 40 years? Maybe. Is it because I'm also, turning 45? Very possibly. Also, I just, I did something stupid. I slept wrong. There you go. One of those three is normally the option, but it takes time.
For Dino, for what it's worth, 2 of the actors of Guy Who Didn't Like Musicals last night were pretty big dudes, like noticeably so.
Yeah.
And they could move. Like one of them plays like a cop and a general, like where it's double cast between one act and the other.
Yeah.
And like he was drenched in sweat by the end, where you could see like the outline of the outfit from Act 1.
Yeah.
And like he was flying. It was really cool.
And you know what? Yeah. Like, look, and I applaud people who, like, I used to, when I was younger and still big, I could still move. But then it blew up on me, and I'm like, yeah, I couldn't move like I used to. And even now I do stuff and I'm like, I didn't think I could do that anymore. Like this was last summer, I was able to get up. So I was cross-legged on the ground and I was able to get up without using my hands. And I'm like, do you know how like massively huge that was for my, emotional and physical journey, where I was like, bro, I would have to use like both hands and a table to get up back in the day, like, and also that table might break, like it was wobbly. And so like it's those kind of little things you like make a difference, but that's in the end my ankles still click and clack every time I move them. What are you gonna do? I don't know.
Yeah. So let's see. In this episode, we've covered anxiety, war, fascism, AI.
Yeah.
Everybody stay calm.
Everyone just
everyone be cool.
Well, this is the best part, is that we've had a very broad conversation of some pretty wild shit, and no one has been, enraged. It's not that, there was one guy in a comment, but he's not blocked. He's not here. We don't have to worry about him. See how that works? It's just cleaning up the mess. Just they take themselves out. It's fantastic.
Elle, how do you keep yourself centered throughout all this chaos?
Oh, I guess this is the part when I have to, have you tried yoga? I have been a yoga practitioner pretty regularly since the mid 2000s. And that definitely helps. I've been, as Dino was talking about too, like just trying to be a regular physical mover. Like if all else fails on a given day, because at this point in time, both my partner and I mostly, not completely, but mostly work from home. Like we'll try to at least go for a walk around the large block area around our place. And that is nice and helpful and helps us de-screen for, half an hour, 40 minutes and whatnot. And that's really important. So yeah, I actually try to either do yoga asanas practice or keep my body moving. What is interesting is like, I know a lot of people talk about the benefits specifically of like meditation where you're forced to sit still. And surprisingly, for how long I've practiced like the yoga physical poses practice, the asanas, I still suck at formalized, just like the formalized sitting meditation. Still suck. Happy to say that. So, not everything works for every person, but yeah, I've always kind of leaned on like movement or fitness. It's funny, like growing up, like my mom and my dad were divorced from a young age, but they were sort of opposites as far as physical movement. My dad was always like the physical one, and I kind of take after him in that regard. But yeah, like, so I always kind of reach for some kind of physical movement. Like I said before, I try to de-screen. I also think it's important to talk about too, like, as somebody who is not entirely, because I still have white privilege, but slightly more minoritized because I'm under the trans umbrella. Like, it's really important for me to spend time reminding myself that we had predecessors who went through all the shit so that by and large, things are still kind of better right now, right? Like the conversation has advanced overall, even though fascists suck and they want to take things away and people are trying to revive the 1980s, like, oh, they're child diddlers, but now with trans people instead of gay men,
But like gay men would be next too.
Of course. Yeah, of course. I'm just saying, like, it's so obvious how much they just recycle the same crap every few decades as far as the phobic and bigoted arguments. That is one nice thing about surviving, and being here as a middle-aged middle-aged person under the trans umbrella is like, I have a longitude of what I can see of like all the conservative tactics around it. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, they're bringing this one. All right, well, whatever, fuck them. Like, it's not going to stick, And I'm curious too, Atlas, like, because my sister is a mental health professional who works with a lot of Gen Alpha, and she says stuff like, yeah, like everybody kind of identifies as like genderqueer or trans, but they don't even really have an anchor in like what gender is anymore. Like maybe we're just abolishing gender. So I'm just curious about your experience because you've worked more directly with that age.
It's mostly like the very end of Gen Z. And like, I think within the next few years, I'll start getting more Gen Alpha. And as is the case on Generation Dan overall, generations are a spectrum. So like you have some of the Gen Z kids technically who like have that Gen Alpha-ness about them, but I don't know about gender necessarily. I had like a good amount of trans kids or non-binary kids, even for a 99% Latino school, where like a lot of people, like their parents were not cool with it, but they did it anyway. Are that anyway. Sorry. It's not like a thing you can choose to do. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so things over time start to get less like separated from each other. Like, I think a good example to look at would be something like cliques. Like, you don't have the jocks and the nerds, and that like everybody is kind of everything all at once. Like, you have jocks who are like, I'm on the football team, but I also really love Pokemon, and I have a Pokemon backpack, and like you're not shoving nerds into lockers for that anymore. It seems like the like that separation is kind of going away, which I think is for the better. But at the same time, like maybe we're starting to see the beginning of that for the end of Gen Z and the beginning of Gen Alpha. I see a lot of dudes painting their nails and not getting made fun of for it. I remember painting my nails when I was 5 because my sister did it, and then I got made fun of, and I never did it again. And
I would still make fun of you, just to be very
fuck
clear.
you, Dino.
I would not.
But like,
still,
yeah. But just the sort of thing where, like, like the things you normally associate with masculinity or femininity are sort of like blurring over time. I can't say that everybody is going to be non-binary in 5 years or something, but for the most part, you'll have like the coding of it sort of blur over time.
Well,
sorry. I wanted to like bring up one more thing because it kind of piggybacks on what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode too. Like, one thing I remember living through as a queer person in those George W. Bush post 9/11 years was like there. One thing that was very particular about those early-ish to like mid and even late 2000s is there was a lot of gender backlash. Like, I remember there was either this very like pastel kind of manic pixie dream girl like femme role, or just like very like exaggerated toxic masculinity and like Spike TV and all that shit.
Definitely.
Where you had like MTV, one of the gnarliest parts of those war years. Like, and as somebody who knew they were genderqueer, it was just like and like I hung out with a lot of cis men, and I was like the one like non-cis man person in the group, and it was just it was a lot.
Yeah. I think the Manic Pixie Dream Girl was probably closer to somewhere in the middle, because they were like, I'm wearing pants, but also dyed hair, and also like we're just like your Zooey Deschanel. The distilled essence of Zooey Deschanel is kind of what I think of when I think Manic Pixie Dream Girl, like 500 Days of Summer, like that shit. Juno, sort of, where she's very kind of tomboyish. And even the word tomboy back then, where it was just like, I'm a girl, but I like to dress like a guy. I'm a tomboy. And not, this is just who I am. Maybe it's just like humans like to put labels on things. Where they're like, hi, do you have anxiety? Take a beta blocker. This is like
but that's this is my thing. I'm like, hey, you know what? We could just be just human, comfortable, happy. That's it. You don't. I love one of the things that Atlas will really mess with people in a public situation is he asks them what they do to make that makes them happy. And they're like, what the hell does that mean? And instead of be like, hey, what do you do for a living? What do you spend like 9 hours a day doing, you fucking asshole? And they're like, he's like, what do you do to make you happy? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm not here for therapy. I'm here for drinks.
I just said, what do you do for fun? Not even like what makes you happy. I feel like if I'm walking up to people being like, what makes you happy? What do you want from life? Like, that's a little much.
Hey, it comes across exactly the same, just so you know. Just so you know. That's how people, you ask that question and people go, I'm going to go call my mom. I don't want to be here.
The what do you do for fun question is great though, because I always hated when people asked, like, what do you do for your job? Because especially like up until like maybe the later 2010s, like who really had the luxury of like full time doing a job that they mind-blowingly loved? Like, oh, you think I want to sit here and talk about like being a temp at some fucking like construction rental place? Like, what the fuck is your problem?
The era of the gold watch is over. Like, you don't get to do the like, all right, I'm working with like Smith and Smith and Smith and Smith for 80 years or whatever. And
for one second, I was like, hey, I had a good job that I was full time for a long time, and then I was like, oh, that you loved. I'm like, oh no, I still fucking hated it. I have a watch for 15 years of service, still fucking hated all 15 years of it. That's okay. Just to make sure, didn't want to mince words, but yeah, nobody had that. It's the same thing where people are like, all I do is work, and you're like, why don't you do something else? And they're like, well, I don't want to. Okay. Have fun. Fuck you talking to me for?
Then and like of course my parents are like that now that they're retired, where they're just like, I don't know what to do with myself. I was at the library the other day and I saw 3 ladies like playing cards in the library, and I'm like, that is amazing. Where like you have your little like Golden Girls trio, quartet, whatever, and you're just like playing cards and shit. It's like being 13 all over again, except now your knees are gone. And that's fine.
My knees are always
I mean, one of my besties, he always like this friend of mine always overly credits me with like instigating all the good stuff in our group, which I think is overly generous. But like one of my besties, really, as of like when did we have our first one? I think it was actually late last year, but he started facilitating music jam sessions, and people just bring an instrument or two. They try to bring their own cable and amp, and we plug in. We have numerous multi-instrumentalists, so we can do a rotation if we want. And it's fun as fuck. It's not an environment where you're like having an obligation to spend money. It's not an overly planned, produced event, because he and I have also kind of rolled around actually producing formal events, but like it's not overly formal or planned. Like it's just kind of like a social thing, and it's really fun, and it's a great like apocalypse activity.
Apocalypse activity.
I mean, it's important that your activities are apocalypse proof. I feel like it's a very important thing. I can do them.
You can carry an acoustic guitar through the wasteland. That's totally a thing.
Yes.
Carry a pair of drumsticks, bang on a rock. That's totally a thing you can do.
It's going to be the return of the bard, just the traveling musician who's like, I'm just here, going to sing a couple songs, make a couple bucks, and off I go.
Well, guess what about that? At some of the local anti-ICE protests here, specifically the ones where they're staying in hotels, people have been bringing percussion and small instruments.
Oh, perfect.
To just like,
and they're like trying to drive them out because you're being annoying, right?
Yeah.
I did a D&D campaign one time where it was like me and a few other comedians and like some of my card game friends. So I was combining like 2 different circles. And one of the comedians, he was a bard, where instead of like, oh, I have a guitar or a flute or something, it's a horse-drawn carriage with a grand piano on the back. And it's like that meme where it's the guy playing piano and it's like fire coming out of his hands or whatever.
Okay, but the guy with a horse-drawn piano is definitely a vampire. Like, let's be reasonable. That guy's
the problem was that guy ran out of money and had to move home. Like he had to leave LA because he ran out of money, and we were so sad because like he was the heart and soul of that campaign. It fell apart quickly.
I mean,
after that,
did he just ride? Hold on, I have to understand this. Did he just ride the horse carriage home? Like, I have questions.
The comedian, the guy,
the real person,
ran out of money and had to move home. Therefore, he couldn't do D&D with us anymore. And like, it was just sad after that. We stopped.
But where's the horse-drawn piano carriage thing? Or was it in the game?
In our imagination, you fuckwit.
I had a real hope that there was a guy who's like, whole thing was, I have a carriage and you just pull up like, and he's like, I'm gonna play some piano, like that. That's why do you have to ruin everything? Why do you have to ruin my imagination? That's rude. That's rude.
Okay, admittedly, that does sound pretty cool.
I mean, I feel like that's the future, right? It's like, I got a horse-drawn carriage, also a grand piano, doot. Like, I would definitely pay to see that.
Yeah, no, that actually sounds like a thing that would happen at Burning Man somewhere. Is just like
100%. Like, there's, like it's very Burning Man, LA in general. I 100% see that.
There's tons of horse girls in LA. I'm sure they could make that happen.
Horse girls are undying. They're everywhere. They've been here for all of time. It's a branch off of witchcraft. It's fine. Yeah.
There's
witches, the horse girls.
Characters Welcome. Have you guys seen that?
No.
So it's
what is it?
Characters Welcome. It's
not familiar with that.
I think it's like a sketch group or something, but they they have somebody play a character in like a little black box theater, and then they just film it. So like they have one where Brennan Lee Mulligan, the guy from College Humor, he was on it one time, and he's like, I'm a Civil War ghost, but and he's from the Confederacy, but then it just turns into this thing where he's like denouncing slavery and like he's all leftist about it because it's Brennan Lee Mulligan, but he's still a Civil War ghost. It's good. I'll send you one. They're very fun.
That sounds horrible. I love it. I can't wait to see it. All right.
Faunt, thank you so much for coming on Generation Dan.
Thank you for having me again. Yeah, and by the way, like in the last episode I was on, we struggled to identify what the big moment of Gen X was, and then my friend piped up when I shared the episode, and he was like, fall of the Berlin Wall and end of the Cold War. Hello.
Oh shit! That's perfect. Why didn't we think of that?
We all missed that one apparently. But I feel like we've come full circle. That having been the big event of the previous episode I was on, and then now we're doing the Cold War and all the other things all at the same time. So
it was a two-parter, and we didn't even realize. That's fair. That's totally
right.
I'll make sure to link the original one in the show notes or description. Where can people find and follow you and all that good stuff?
I am LL Faunt on Instagram. I am LL Faunt on Blue Sky as well. And those are really the main things that I use. I have told Facebook that it can go die somewhere.
Oh, that's fair.
The school appropriate phrase I like to say is suck a lemon. I feel like it gets the point across pretty well.
I mean, it works.
Once you get the sound,
yes.
That is so perfect. You can follow me at Atlas Novack wherever fine social medias are found, except for Twitter, because I nuked that shit from orbit. Or check out my other show, which is Nexus at Night, which is about the trading card game Card Fight Vanguard, I think. If that's not your thing, whatever. But every Friday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, we stream on that YouTube channel. Dino, how about you?
Nothing says Friday like a nice card game on the internet. That's fair.
We're talking about card games, or in this case, Root Beer was playing video games, and like we were just talking over it. It was fun. It was a good time. Basically,
what happens is he's just rubbing in other people's face the fact that he has friends on a Friday. That's what the whole show basically is. I am Dino the Genetic Marvel. You can follow me wherever you want. Don't come over. That's weird. I'm old. I'll beat you up. So you don't want to surprise me. But yeah, no, we have shows almost every day this week. I built a new desk, L, and it's like it actually does stuff. It goes down, it goes up. It's huge. Yeah, I'm trying to set up my whole thing so I can use the whole thing to play to build Lego. And I feel like my wife is happy and also angry because now I'm going to build more Lego, which means it's going to be taking over the house. So, that's dumb. But in the meantime, everyone, fucking relax, calm down. You'll be fine. Everything will be fine. The fire will die down, and then we're gonna make s'mores. It'll be great. All right.
Frankie says relax in honor of Pride Month.
100%. All right, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. See you
Bye,
later.
everyone.
See ya.